Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to hurricane season 2023, which I'm not complaining about. I just want to recognize that what we're going to be talking about today is the at-risk registry, and the importance of the at-risk registry today is going to be a tutorial to help you understand not only what the registry is and what it's not, but also how to use it properly in order to make sure that the information is getting to the emergency manager. So the Watchpoint at-risk registry that we're going to be talking about is required in Louisiana for all hospices and home health agencies to use. It's highly recommended and encouraged for all Mississippi hospices and home health to also use. Why? Because it fulfills your agency's requirement with regards to emergency preparedness. You are responsible for helping families not only have a plan, but connecting those families to their local emergency manager so that if their plan fails or their plan is not workable, the emergency manager in their jurisdiction knows about that and is planning for
This is my convenient
assistance to them in the event of some sort of evacuation from their neighborhood. It also keeps the emergency managers fully aware of the special needs of your patients. This registry is not for any of your nursing home patients. Nursing homes have their own plan, and this is just for patients who are in their homes or in assisted in their homes, whether they're hospice or home health. So who are the patients we're talking about? There are 4 categories of patients that we use that we will be putting into the registry. One is a patient who's living alone without a caregiver and who would be unable to evacuate themselves if there was an evacuation order called for their neighborhood. The second type of patient is a patient or a family whose the primary caregiver is either mentally or physically incapable of carrying through on that evacuation if they were to be ordered for their neighborhood. Third would be a hospice or a home health patient who they simply don't have the financial means to evacuate. An evacuation actually costs folks anywhere between $700 and $1,000, and we have a lot of patients, a lot of folks that simply can't afford that. Emergency managers want to know about those patients because emergency managers have vouchers and coupons and all kinds of gas cards and things like that that they can help those patients with. And finally, a home health or a hospice patient who's just plain stubborn. They're refusing to evacuate. We have them in every community. It's important to remember that even if they're refusing to evacuate, in order to put them into the registry, they have to give their consent. So they have to sign that consent form that we're going to get to next. So these are the important documents. You can go after today's lesson, after today's session, I'm going to post all of these slides in next Wednesday's calendar invite. So you can go there, you can look ahead and pull these all down. All of these hyperlinks actually work. They will get you to where I'm telling you they. First of all, that big hyperlink is we have a web page with all of these documents on there. So it's just as a big resource. There are a lot of resources on there with regards to emergency management for agencies. There's another document called the ABCs of using the at-risk registry. If you click on that, you're going to get a 2-page tutorial, a written out tutorial. It's what I'm going to go over today, but it will take you step by step through using the at-risk registry. Then you see their consent form templates. There's one for Louisiana as well as for Mississippi. There's also an evaluation form for Louisiana and Mississippi. The template is 1-pager. The consent form It's really important that you communicate to your patients that this consent form gives you permission to put their information into this registry in order to help emergency managers plan better for some sort of catastrophe or some sort of evacuation from that patient's neighborhood. It does not, and I want to repeat, it does not guarantee anyone that their transportation needs will actually be met in an actual emergency. And that's what's important that patients understand. The last line of the first paragraph reads, although inclusion in the at-risk registry does not guarantee that my transportation needs will be met in an actual emergency, my inclusion in the registry provides emergency managers awareness of my current health and living situation, as well as the opportunity to more accurately prepare for emergency situations in the parish or in the county. It's each one is Mississippi is county, Louisiana it's parish. That's really important that they understand that in an actual emergency, decisions are made as they have to be made, and we don't know what the circumstances might be in a given situation. Look at what happened in Maui as an example of that. Within a matter of 4 hours, the entire island appeared to be in flames. There's also an evaluation form that for Louisiana and Mississippi, and this gathers all of the information that someone will need who's ever putting this information into the registry. They will need all of that information in order to successfully put in all the information in there. I want to point out also that recently we did an update to this evaluation page because it was pointed out that a lot of you were having problems calculating the patient's birth because we have age here, and in the registry it asks for the patient's birth, and they ask the formula is year first, then month, then day. And so we made that more clear on here. And also we asked for the diagnosis and realized that we had left the diagnosis off of the evaluation form. So we have posted a new version of that template, and you may want to take a look at and start using that template rather than the old one. So I'm going to take you through the actual registry now. We have a demo site that we've set up for today's, and can everyone know? Okay, let's share the screen again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through an actual demonstration of using the site. So we have everyone who is using the site. Everyone who's using this site has to have a login number. You have to have a username and a password. And every agency has a unique username and passcode. You should know what that is. If you don't, then get in touch with me and I will be more than happy to look into the registry to see what your current username and passcode is and communicate that to you directly. But once you get there, you're going to go to the site, the Watchpoint at-risk registry. You put your username and your passcode in there, and you simply hit the submit button, and it will take you into the registry. Now, this is a demo site, so none of these patients are in here. But if you will follow along with the evaluation form, or if you want to go ahead and open up the at-risk registry right now, put in your username and passcode, and you can follow along with me. So it's just a great big Excel spreadsheet. Yeah, that's important to realize is that this is. Don't be afraid of it. You cannot break this. So don't worry. You're not going to do anything that's going to cause harm, except unless you don't do the weekly update. If you're not paying attention to the weekly update, then you are doing harm because while the information is staying in here, it's not being transmitted until each Thursday. Every agency has to give permission for this piece of software to actually transmit those names. So the weekly update is important, and we'll get to that shortly. But to put a patient into the registry, it's quite simple. You log in just like we did, and then you simply add a new record. When you add a new record, it's going to add a new line into the spreadsheet for that patient. Now, a shortcut is to simply put your cursor in there on the line, double click it, and it's going to do the same thing as if you were to take at the end of the line. You see where it says it's edit and delete. You can activate the line by simply saying edit, or you can double click the line. It does the same, it's the same operation. So you're going to, following the evaluation form, you're going to put the patient, you're going to work in these little boxes here. But you see, the first thing is that you want this to be in the yes, this where it says needs assistance, yes. And then you're going to put in the patient's last name, their first name. You put in their gender. You put in their address. You put in the city or the town that they're in. The state is very, very important. You have to make sure that you're catching the right state. A lot of y'all are missing Louisiana and you're putting in Massachusetts. A lot of y'all are missing Mississippi, and it goes from Mississippi to Missouri. You'll hit Missouri rather than Mississippi. So you got to get the right state, first of all, because when you get the right state, when you put in the state, it's going to give you a list of all the right, either in Louisiana parishes or in Mississippi, the right county. So then you have to pick out you have to find that patient's county. And I will tell you, I know there are lots of patients that don't know what parish or county they actually live in. And sometimes agencies think that they're in one parish when they're actually in another parish. We have this confusion going on a lot, because I'll show you a little later what we currently have with regards to an issue with parishes and counties when we get further into this tutorial. But then you simply put in the parish, you put in the patient's weight, because it's important that they know how small or large the patient is. We have some patients that are well over 600 pounds. And if that's the case, we're going to need more than one person to help transport that patient. So that's why they're asking for that sort of information. If the agency, if the patient, if they're across streets, they want to know what's West Street and Hart Drive. It gives them a little bit more information to work with in terms of locating. They want to know whether or not the patient lives in a house, a mobile home, an apartment, or other. If they live in an apartment building, what's the name of the complex and the apartment number, if that's the case. The region is going to be defined by your agency's location. So it's going to automatically show what region your agency is in. So you don't have to worry about the region, but you do need to look at the date of birth. And I know a lot of folks are confused, but what you need is you want to put in the year first, followed by the month, followed by the day. No, I did that wrong. You have to do 1938 dash 06013. Okay. And then if the patient has an email address, please put it in there, because the emergency managers will use that information in order to communicate with the patient throughout the hurricane season. Very, very important is the zip code. Everything is geo-synced around in emergency response. And so the zip codes help to identify, pinpoint where that neighborhood is, where that location is. You're going to put in the patient's diagnosis. You're going to put in the patient's doctor's name. I'm sorry, this is the patient's primary, the first one is the patient's primary caregiver. The patient's primary caregiver's name. Their patient's primary caregiver's telephone number, their home number. The second one is the patient's primary care's mobile number. So if you can give both, that's great. Sometimes the primary caregiver is not the next of kin, and so they're asking for the patient's next of kin, as well as the patient's next of kin's phone number and address if you have that. Then we get to the patient's physician, and the physician's phone number and fax number, which you should have in your records. Next would be the DME supplier. Who is providing that patient with their DME equipment? And the telephone number for that supplier. Next is the pharmacy's name and the pharmacy's phone number. This next column is a date stamp for whenever you go in here to make a change. There's a date stamp so that we can track all of the changes that are taking place. Then next is transport needed. Any means that the emergency manager could send anything. You could send a car, they could send a van, they could send they could send a pedicab to pick up that patient. They need a way out. Paratransit means that the patient's in a wheelchair and that they would need a wheelchair lift. Ambulance means the patient's on their back. They need a stretcher. State law requires that if an emergency manager does anything with a patient and they have pets, they have to do something also with the pet. And so they want to know whether or not there are pets in the home that they need to also consider in transporting, yes or no. And then they want to know the reason you're putting them into the registry. Is it because they're living alone without a caregiver and can't evacuate themselves, or is it because the caregiver is incapable of carrying through an evacuation order, or is it a financial issue? Is it something that they may be able to resolve by providing vouchers, gas cards, and money to that family in order to get that family to make sure that they're taking care of themselves rather than the parish or the county having to transport them? And then those that are refusing to evacuate. The ones that are refusing, emergency managers, they can go out there and they can have a talk with the individual about the importance of getting out when there is an evacuation order call. Next is there's a checkbox if they're on oxygen or if they're ventilator dependent, if there's an infusion therapy that they're taking, a chemotherapy or some sort of infusion, whether there's tube feeding involved. And then they want to know about mobility. Is the patient mobile? Do they need assistance or are they bedbound? Those are the three options there. If there's a wheelchair involved with the patient, please check that, or a walker. And if there are any special care supplies that that patient might need, here you would put it in this box. Once you get to that point, you're going to hit post. Post is the same as save. So you post it and all of the information gets stored into the at-risk registry. I say it's stored because it's transmitted every Friday morning at 7 a.m. But before we transmit anybody's information, we require the agency that put them into the registry to update that patient and say, yes, my patient is still alive and still in need of assistance if there's an evacuation order call. Remember, this system is only with regards to evacuating people out of their homes if there's some sort of emergency. To do the update is very, very simple. And for whatever reason, people are having difficulty remembering, you simply sign in. We send you a reminder. You click on the reminder button that we're sending you. You log in using your username and passcode. If you set it up with your computer to remember all of that, it goes directly to your patients. The update consists of hitting this bulk edit button. Bulk edit means I'm going to take care of everybody at one time. You see all of the patients there. you go to this little box on the left-hand side of the screen, and you have to put a check mark inside each box for the name that you want to transmit to the emergency manager the next day. A lot of people say, oh, I just go up here and check this. This button is disabled. We require, it doesn't do anything. It lights up, but it's not going to check all of these names. We require that the agency deliberately put a check mark into in each box in order to transmit. So you hit the bulk edit button, you put a check mark, and then you see right on the bulk edit, it says needs assistance, yes, and you hit submit, and that's it. That is the update. Bulk edit, check marks, submit. It will take you all of 7-8 seconds. If you have, a few patients in there, if you have more, it may take you a few more seconds to make each tick down this tick off all of these boxes before you hit submit. That's the update. That's the part that a lot of agencies are missing. They're putting patients in, but they're not updating them, and they need to be aware that they're not transmitting those names to the emergency manager. Okay, so let's go back to our. Does anyone have any questions before we leave the actual demo site about the at-risk registry? You're going to have to unmute yourself if you have a question, but feel free to ask questions. Okay. If you have a question, feel free to stop me at any point, but I'm going to leave the demo site and we're going to go back to the PowerPoint so that we can continue with this lesson. Stop here, stop sharing, and then I need to share again.
Hey, Jamie.
Yes, ma'am. Who's this?
Hey, it's Allison. Sorry, I have laryngitis.
Hey, hi, Allison.
I'm on the call. It's difficult to understand. One thing that I'm seeing being transmitted over, it looks like when the agencies are adding a new line, adding a new patient record, it adds a line to the top and it just says new patient until they complete the information. When they're saving,
I've noticed that. I've noticed there are some agencies, it appears what's happening is some agencies are going in there and they're just adding a line and then leaving. And I think not putting any information in there.
I think one reason may be, I think I figured out maybe why. This morning I did a registry training with my hospitals. And if you, on some computers, maybe I think Macs, it's very finicky about clicking in the line to add the information. You have to actually scroll over to the far right and click edit for it to unlock the line.
Okay.
And so that may be why, maybe whatever type of computer they're on, if they're clicking add a new record and trying to go directly into the name field, it may not let them.
Well, I will tell you, there's one other thing that we've discovered in over the past several years that we've been using this system is that it works best with Google and Google Chrome, and it does not work well with Bing and Edge. Those are the two where some of the functions, they find that the functions are not working. If you're using Bing or you're using Edge, there are problems with a lot of the functions. So we recommend that you use Google or Google Chrome.
Okay, that's
or Firefox. Firefox is another one that you can use, but it seems as Edge and Bing are not good servers for this particular platform.
Okay. But anyway, that's helpful. And then maybe just so the group's aware, it should, if you scroll over to the right and click edit, allow you to change things within the line.
Right. And if people are making a mistake and they actually add a line, if you wouldn't mind, as long as it says no, where in that second column where it says needs assistance, if the the new line with the new says new patient, if it says no, it's not going to transmit. It's only when you put that yes under by the new patient that it gets included in the
Sends it over.
transmission.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so why the weekly update? Why do we require that you do a weekly update? Well, what's the importance of it? The information that's transmitted needs to be current and it needs to be accurate. Your time and the emergency manager's time are just as valuable, especially in an emergency, especially in a time is of the essence. Look at the disaster unfolding in Maui in terms of how fast that destruction came. 25% of all of the patients in hospice or die within the first 7 days that they're enrolled into hospice. Half of our patients are deceased by 31 days in Louisiana and in Mississippi both. We do not want to transmit the names of deceased patients or patients in home health who've left your service, who have left the service area, who may not be there. And so the computer, by default, the computer allows for 7 days of coverage at a time. Then the agency has to renew that that confirmation that that patient is still alive and still in need of assistance. That's why we require a weekly update in the system. But the last thing emergency managers need is in actual emergency, trying to sort through figuring out who's does need help and who is alive and who's not alive, and we need their help. This is the example. This is the email that we send out every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. to all of the users of record, and they simply get this notice. You click on that little where it says click here. It's going to take you straight to the Watchpoint at-risk registry, where you're going to have to put in your login information, your username and your password. After you do it one time and you save it and you bookmark it on your computer, it will automatically go in. You'll bypass the login credentials, but you simply click there and it'll go straight into the registry. So what are some of the issues that I've been seeing most recently? And I did this audit yesterday, so this is fresh. We had 100, as of yesterday, 102 hospice agencies currently have over 1,500 patients that are in this registry. Right now, 1,025 are in need of assistance. It says, yes, they need assistance, but there's another 552 that it says, no, they don't need assistance. And we don't know why they don't need why they're still in the registry and they don't need assistance. If they don't need assistance, if they're deceased, then we want you to take them out of the registry. And the agency, you simply go to the end of the right side of the line and just hit the delete button, and it takes that patient out of your listing. We have 90 home health agencies currently with a little over 1,100 patients, and 821 of them said, yes, they need assistance this week. They did the update, but there were another 283 patients that were in the no position. That second column, it says need assistance and it says no. So the question is, why are those patients still in the registry? Sometimes agencies have a reason for it. Most of the time it's because they either forgot to take them out, or they forgot to do the update, or they didn't know they had to do a weekly update. And that's what these tutorials are trying to correct, is that your agency has to do the tutorial if that name is actually going to be transmitted to an emergency manager that week. There are 227 patients in the registry as of yesterday afternoon when I did this audit, that 149 of them are missing the zip code for their address. And like we said, everything's being geosynced. So the zip code is very important to the emergency managers. Even more importantly than the zip code We have 105 patients currently in the registry that had no parish or county assignment to them. The agency simply forgot or overlooked putting the parish or the county, assigning that patient to a parish or county. In doing so, the computer doesn't know where that patient lives other than an address. But that address is not going to be transmitted if we don't know where to send the information. That's why the parish has to be identified. We have to know what parish to send this to. So I name names now. I have no shame. So I went in and I said, okay, so who in the registry has patients that were not updated last week, from last week on forward. So these agencies have patients in the registry who were not transmitted last week because they did not do an update. Okay, that's how we'll frame this. So I broke it down in Louisiana, and I'm showing this list. If you're on this list, please, and you don't understand why you're on the list, please give me a call. I'll be more than happy to walk you through and show you exactly where your patients are that need to be updated. But this is the list of hospice agencies in Louisiana and Mississippi that have patients in there that were not updated at least last week and before. And some of them haven't been updated since January 1st of this year when they were put in. We have patients dating back that far that have not been updated. Now, this Louisiana list continues, Louisiana hospice list continues here. So if you see your name on this list, and you don't understand why your name is on this list, because you feel as though you're doing the update, please give me a call, and I'll be more than happy to walk you through the process and point out who those patients are that we found in yesterday's audit that had not been updated last week, and consequently were not transmitted to emergency managers. Their names were not transmitted last week. Now, next group, this is the home health agencies, and all of them are in Louisiana with regards to who had patients in the registry who were not sent to the emergency managers last Friday. If you see your name on here, you can give me a call. If you see the name of one of your branches or sister agency, please call them and tell them that they're on my naughty list and that they need to contact me because they have patients that I think they may be oblivious to the fact that they have patients in this registry whose names are not being transmitted to emergency managers. Emergency managers don't know anything about these patients if they're not on the weekly list. So we send out reports to every parish and every county in Louisiana and Mississippi. Those reports go out to the emergency managers at 7 a.m. It's a simple algorithm that the software simply does. It takes all of, I think, 2.5 minutes to send all of the reports. Every regional emergency manager in Louisiana now receives a regional report. It is a composite report of several different parishes. Every parish in every county, every region, and every district handles this information differently. Louisiana does it differently than Mississippi, and Region 1 in Louisiana does it differently than Region 2 or Region 4, or every region does it. Every parish within regions, they do it a little differently. And that's why it's important that your agency know how your parish and the parishes that you serve, or the county and the counties that you serve, that they know their emergency manager and that they have this sort of communication with all of those emergency managers. These are links that you can actually click on, and it will send me an email, and I will include you in a listserv that we are setting up one for Louisiana hospices, one for Mississippi hospices, one Louisiana health, home health providers, Mississippi home health providers. Next week, we will be focused on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. That's District 9. And we've invited all of the regional and district people from Mississippi to be on next week's call, as well as all of the providers. That's the home health and hospice providers that service the Gulf Coast region. It's not not, it won't be exclusive to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We cover a lot of material about emergency preparedness in general that services both Louisiana and Mississippi, but there will be a special focus on learning the nuances of that particular region with regards to emergency preparedness. These are links that will take you to support resources for providers. Takes you to our website where we have all of those resources that we spoke of earlier. We also have a support resource page for patients and families. You may want to take a look at it. There's some things that you can actually download and bring to your patients and your families with regards to emergency preparedness in your part of the state. Crystal Birmingham, Jamie, that's my email address if you need to get in touch with me, if you have questions. You can also, I should have pointed out when we were in the demo, up at the top of, if you get in trouble and you're inside the at-risk registry, something's happened, there's a little button up there that says support. If you hit that, gives you an email where you can send a message saying what the problem is that you're experiencing. That immediately comes to me and it goes to Crystal as well. And one of us will call you, usually within 60 minutes of getting one of these. It's either I or Crystal handles it, trying to make sure that you're getting as quick a response as possible. So this is the end of my tutorial. I'm asking, what issues are you facing in your agency or with the at-risk registry that's making it difficult, or what problem, any problems you're seeing at the agency level with regards to doing the update, putting patients in or doing the update? Feel free to make comments now. You can unmute, you'll have to unmute yourself because everyone's been muted when you came in.
Jamie.
Yes.
Where do we go to create the login and the password for the registry? For
your agency?
Yes.
I want you to give me a call and I will, it's already been established. You have, every agency has a login username and passcode, or it's already been assigned. It's been assigned since we started this registry. And if you give me a call, you can reach me directly at 504-491-6133. Or if you drop me a line at jboudreau@lmhpco.org, what we'll do is we'll make an appointment when you're in front of your computer and you're ready to go, and I'm in front of mine, and then we will test, I'll give you what the username and passcode is, and then you will test it and we'll make sure it's working properly.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, listen, you can, if you think of a question later on, please feel free to contact me either by email or on my cell. Again, it's 504-491-6133. Let's see, I think it's here. Yes, I'm sorry. It's 504-491-6133, or you can reach me at jboudreau@lmhpco.org. Next week, we will be looking at District 9, which is the Mississippi Gulf Coast, at 1 o'clock. If you or someone you know or someone you love wants to be part of these discussions, they can click on that link there, and we'll send them the Zoom link in a calendar invite. That's the registration page. Oh, and I'm going to take these slides. I am going to turn them into a PDF within the next 10 minutes, and they will be posted in next Wednesday. You would have to look at Wednesday, the 23rd, in the calendar, and you'll be able to you'll be able to draw them down as a PDF, and all of the hyperlinks will work for you. Okay. If there are no other questions, I'm going to return the rest of the day to you. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.